Hello, hello, it's your astrologer friend, Kimberly here, coming to you ahead of the Gemini full moon that we've got. And I just want to let you know if it's annoying for you to listen and watch this on YouTube, I am recording this as a podcast so you can walk the dog, make a cup of tea, put your earpods in, and listen to me waxing lyrical on the waxing moon that we have in Taurus right now as we build up to the full moon. Basically, I'm just saying I've launched a podcast. Now, I've called it The Art of Astrology. And as astrologers, we learn the art of astrology, which is AKA the interpretive quality of astrology. We're interpreting astrology. So it's an art, a language, learning the language, interpreting astrology as an art form. However, if you know me, you might know that I'm interested in art, music, fashion, culture, movies, cinema, film, media, and artists that actually put their paint to palette, and makeup artists that put their paint to palette. In fact, just lots and lots of famous people and how they express their natal astrology. And so let's add a twist to the full and new moon by looking at famous faces, people who embody the archetype of the full moon, the new moon, so on and so forth. We're going to go on a journey together. Yeah. And that's why the podcast is called The Art of Astrology. I also have in the works a masterclass, my life's work of research, basically, which will be looking at all the studies that I've done around prolific people and artists and how they play into our cultural zeitgeist, be they movie directors, be they prolific actors, actresses, or just iconic figures in the public eye. I did actually go to Barcelona, not last year. Yeah, it was 2024. Well over a year ago, I went to Barcelona and did a deep dive on Gaudi and his contemporaries and looked at many other artists. So it's all coming, it's all in the works. I love to research and then hopefully share with you what I've learned and what I've observed. So let's go ahead now. And if you're on YouTube, you will see the visuals for this. This is the visuals for the full moon in Gemini. Let's go through it step by step, one by one, the planets, the points, the asteroids. No asteroids on this chart, but it's going to get more complicated. We're going to keep it simple at the beginning stages here. And if you want to know, just skip ahead to what your horoscope is for this moment. They're going to be on YouTube Shorts, right? I'm going to film little individual 60-second horoscopes by sign. So if you're not really interested in the macro analysis of the full moon, just skip this. Just don't even worry about it. Just click on Shorts and you'll be delivered a little bite-sized nugget for yourself for your viewing pleasure. But if you're strapping in for a longer haul, if you just like to listen to my voice, quite frankly, a bit of ASMR, I do have a lovely microphone, so stay with me. Stay with me as we go on a journey through the zodiac. Okay, so Sagittarius this year comes with a side serving of Venus and Mars. That's right, the sun is sandwiched between Mars, our warrior planet, our aggressor, our fighting planet, and Venus, Aphrodite, the love goddess, the planet of flirtation, dressing up, beauty, and attraction, affection. Okay, so we've got quite a lot going on in the Sagittarius sector of the skies. That sandwich, that feisty planetary cosmic combo there, 3 planets in Sagittarius. The full moon is coming to fruition in opposite sign Gemini. So what can I tell you about the axis of Sagittarius and Gemini? Because we're basic to begin with. We're just going to keep it real simple. Sagittarius is a fire sign. Gemini is a air sign. They're both mutable. So we've got 4 mutable signs: Sag, Gemini, Pisces, and Virgo. Okay, mutable moves. That's how you remember about mutable signs. Mutable is a sign, a zodiac sign that moves. We've got 4 of each modality. So there's always a duplicity to the signs that are mutable. Sagittarius is half man, half beast. He's a centaur. I saw somebody say the other day that it was Chiron. And I was like, no, 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 honey. There are more than one centaur, and Sagittarius is not necessarily Chiron. So, Sagittarius is a centaur of the skies, an archer. He is half man at the top. He is pulling his arrow back. He is a seeker. He's on a quest through travel and mind, body, spirit. And if you know a Sagittarius, you'll know that they have this ability to transcend borders. They appreciate the gamble, the risk. They roam far and wide, whether they're in roaming in their body or roaming in their mind and their intellect, they gallop through the world, right? And there's a duplicitousness to Gemini in the fact that Gemini is the twins. There is a sense of duplicity with Pisces, the two fish, and with Virgo there is a duplicity between the angel that resides in heaven and the woman who is carrying the corn on earth. So that's the duplicitous nature of Virgo, angel and human, mortal and saint, let's say. But anyway, it's not Virgo season now. Let's not focus on Virgo. We're focusing on Gemini Sag. Another interesting way to remember about this axis is that it is the communication and information axis. Sagittarius seeks in a big library, Harry Potter style, with encyclopedias, big old dusty books, lots of theses, a thesis, many theses going on in this library, many lofty philosophies, theologies, world maps, really, really big astrolabe globes and so on. Sagittarius is right at home in this dusty old library full of knowledge and wisdom, whereas Gemini's style of communication and intellect is the building blocks, is the grammar, is the nuance of language, be it body language or the language that's spoken. They are very, very clever and quick. They are in charge of newspapers and magazines that get delivered on a week-to-week basis. They are the tweet, the social media update. They are pithy with their one-liners. Okay, so there's these two sides to everybody's communication. Everybody likes to learn and go large, and everybody needs to learn the basics as well. Doesn't mean that all Geminis are bestowed with great grammar skills or abilities to read people, and it doesn't necessarily mean that Sagittarius is going to acquire a doctorate or a master's of some subject. It really doesn't. It's more thinking about this opposition, this polarity between big and small. And coincidentally, the ruler of Sag is Jupiter, big. The ruler of Gemini is Mercury, small, light-footed, very, very dexterous in its planetary movement and patterns. Mercury is the messenger of the sun because Mercury moves with the sun, very closely aligned with the sun. So it basically follows the sun around, it retrogrades, it goes back and forth, but essentially Mercury is the light-footed planet of delivery. And that's why we will often see the iconography or the glyphs of Mercury in connection with delivery people. If you see basically there's this the winged messenger Mercury will appear on the side of post boxes and so on in Germany and places. Anyway, over in Pisces, so this full moon is coming to fruition in the sign of neighbors, in the sign of delivery, in the sign of quick, pithy messages, social media, back and forth, information. And we look to Mercury for extra clues about what else is going on. Because if it was just a full moon just about Gemini, everything would be very, very surface and boring, right? So what we do is we look to Mercury and we say, okay, fine, got it, full moon. There it is, dazzling bright up in the sky. What's Mercury doing? Mercury's at 22 degrees of Scorpio. Scorpio is a very different vibe, isn't it, guys? Scorpio is deep, probing, investigatory. It's a water sign. It's emotional. It has layers and layers and layers of psychology, right? So if Sagittarius is the big library full of Harry Potter spells and great big dusty pages, Scorpio is the office to the side with the dean who's sorting through all the resources of the university. He's in there with his fine-tooth comb scrutinizing the bills, basically. So Mercury's operating in an area of the skies that's way more reserved, way more pensive, and way more sensitive than the Sagittarius hallmarks. So we've got the Gemini full moon, which is kind of loquacious. Already we've used the word duplicitous, but we could also say kind of like a little bit, Gemini energy is a little bit, it's not slippery, but kind of like, wily. So we've got that wily full moon, information, and it's got that undercurrent of scorpionic energy, right? So there could be things like contracts or agreements or bonds, investments, and really serious topics that are being touched upon, informing what's coming up for examination under the full moon. That is not all. We've got this really significant square going on between the full moon and the North Node, which is a hypothetical imaginary point that denotes the eclipse cycle. The North and South Node show us where the eclipses are year by year by year. You can see it is exactly a point that is squaring the full moon point. So the sun's at 1303, the moon is exactly diametrically opposite at 1303. The North Node's at 1343. So within a degree, there's a square. Now, if Sagittarius is the library full of really, really important books, and Gemini is the media mogul who's delivering newspapers every day, what is Pisces and what is Virgo? Virgo's out in the field churning up, this rigorous routine operations, but Pisces is the floodgates of confusion. And so I wonder if at this full moon that there is this sense of needing information, needing to explore, needing to go on a journey, needing to connect, needing to be in touch with neighbors, needing to be part of this process of, understanding or connecting to people. But then also there being this really, really great wave of apathy or just a knowingness, right? Like, because the Pisces energy of the chart is really, really strong. We've got the North Node in Pisces, we've got Saturn in Pisces, which is recently stationed direct, and we've got Neptune in Pisces at the 29th degree. Huge. The 29th degree is a very powerful point of any zodiac sign, but at Pisces, it's the very last sign of the zodiac, if we count Aries as the first sign, which of course we kind of do. So it's the last point of the zodiac, it's the last point of Pisces, and we're basically considering that Neptune is conjunct Saturn at this point. So we've got those two planets creating this really strong, overwhelming signature. And lo and behold, that's not all. Mars in Sagittarius is approaching a square to Saturn. So let's just take those two planets in isolation for a second. Mars in Sagittarius is putting the foot on the gas, right? Mars is actually representative of cars. Anything that has the power to accelerate is a very Martian thing. So Mars is like rockets and daggers and knives and, any kind of plant with thorns on it, but also cars and motorbikes and Formula One. And if you know an Aries who are ruled by Mars, you might see that they're very enthusiastic about mechanics and engineering. And Mars is engineering as well. So if somebody has a Sun-Mars conjunction, they could be an engineer. I've seen it in my inner circle. And Saturn is the planet of boundaries, the stop sign, hurdles, slowing down. It is the wall. It is the ability to resist. It's slowness, it's grandfather time, it's consequences, discipline, and taking things step by step. So what happens when Mars is tensely configured with Saturn? It's the grinding gears of like, oh, no petrol in the car, or something blocking the ignition, right? Imagine that kind of gear stick frustratedly, being rearranged with a strong, muscly arm that's just practically going to snap off the damn thing. That's the kind of energy that we're not only experiencing at the full moon, but that's coming in because it will be a few days yet that Mars will perfect that square to Saturn. So, pretty interesting grinding gears dynamic coming in. Pretty interesting full moon, wanting to see things, wanting to experience full light and revelatory experiences. However, getting that kind of wave of pushback of like, that's just not the way things work anymore. I remember there was this time in 2016 where we had Neptune always square. There were so many planets going through Sag, and I think there was something going through Gemini, and basically it was the birth of fake news. And coincidentally, Donald Trump is a Gemini Sun, Sagittarius Moon, right? So it's all this kind of mystery and intrigue around what is real and what is fake. And so while we may want to latch on or lock into answers, seeking answers with Sagittarius, knowing and understanding the finer points and the nuances with Gemini, just getting the damn message across with both of them, there is this overwhelming sense that all is not as it seems. The boundaries are blurred. So almost like the watercolor pot, the glass that you've been um, you've been using your brush in this water and the water glass just gets spilled. It's very Pisces energy. It's like if you're watching a movie and there's this real climax where there's at some point in the film, there's this moment where the map gets lost and it's like, oh no, we've lost it. I mean, answers will come. We all know there's a happy ending at the end of a movie, but it's like this moment where, you know, there's some kind of, halt. There's this some kind of like roadblock in the road where we're not getting to see the full picture. That's how I feel about it anyway. Just made that up. Okay, let's go to the Gemini new moon that corresponds with this full moon, 6th of June 2024. The new moon comprised Sun, Moon, and Venus all at 16 degrees, and itself was square Saturn in Pisces. Remarkable, I know. Fascinating, I know. Really creepy, I know. Saturn being the planet of, hard work and discipline and reminders of reality. It's like reality check territory. And of course, at that point, Neptune was also at 29 degrees. So we're resonating with the energy of that June 2024. Maybe something stands out as being significant or important or, prominent at that time. And then just to say, like, just to bring it, and at that time as well, let's just say that Jupiter, Mercury were also forming part of this really, really, really strong signature in Gemini. So something then was seeded that's now coming to fruition. I know what happened with me was that I was really struggling with my online presence, website wise. Websites are kind of Sagittarius, but they can also be very Gemini. And basically, Google had just changed up its algorithm. Now it's even worse, but at that point, I was really frustrated that they were pointing people to chosen websites. Basically, SEO was becoming a lot harder to manage, and I was lost, let's face it. So the ninth house would be the house of publishing for me. And so yes, very tricky times. And I'm just about to renovate my website again. So it's a very full moon in Gemini. It's very on point for me. Also, I went to visit a neighbor today to say happy birthday. So that was very kind of Gemini coded as well. And then I messaged somebody else whose birthday it was. So it was all kind of really on point for me. Now, I just want to go back. I don't know if I fully made as much of it as I want to, but let's just consider that full moon signature that we've got going on in the chart, the tri it's not the full moon signature, excuse me. Let's consider the grand water trine that we've got here between Mercury in Scorpio, Saturn in Pisces, and Jupiter in Cancer. Again, I probably have said it, but maybe I'm repeating myself. But basically, this is an incredibly emotive signature. A lot of people are going through really deep, deep shifts because Neptune's at the very last degree of the zodiac. And so there's a lot coming out in the wash. There's a lot of feelings coming up. There could even be trauma with it being Mercury in Scorpio. It could be dark. It could be confronting. Remember, Scorpio is Scorpio season Halloween, the thing of the veil. Neptune's kind of spooky too. Saturn there is really bringing like fears up. And so I want you to acknowledge or kind of, think about the fact that during these times, there may be a lot of overwhelm, there may be a lot of crisis, there may be a lot of vulnerability that is being kicked up for people. So, although it's Sagittarius season, it's all fun and games. The moon in Gemini is loquacious and duplicitous and entertaining and quippy. There's also this massive consideration of the water stuff going on too. And, I'm not saying life can be divided up into four corners and earth is all practical and fire is all passionate and air is all intellectual and water is all emotive. But there is something to be said about the level of sensitivity that is to be acknowledged with the water signs being kicked off. This is the area of therapy. This is the area of, deep psychological work. And as I said, trauma. So worth being aware of. Okay. With that said, let's come away from the chart and let's take a little bit of a dive, a fun walk, a journey into something else for a change, which is using the Astro Theme website, which I love. I do love the Astro Theme website. So here we've got the list of people who are born with the sun in Sagittarius and the moon in Gemini. So you can just use Google to tap into your browser, Astro Theme, sun in Sagittarius, moon in Gemini, and you'll come up with this list and you can scroll through and basically you will see, especially with the full moon configuration, you will see these two little numbers here and you'll be able to accurately denote who is born very close to a full moon. So for example, Tina Turner, her sun is at 4 degrees, her moon is at 7 degrees. That's a full moon baby. Milla Jovovich, excuse me, 25 degrees sun, 12 degree moon. So she's born before a full moon. Edith Piaf, Sagittarius sun at 26 degrees, moon at 0. So not such a strong full moon baby. Jennifer Connelly, on the other hand, definitely a full moon baby, ma'am. 20 degrees sun, 18 degrees moon. So I've picked up a few of these. You can go through the whole list. Fascinating to see who is born with this configuration. Now, I've picked up a few. I find Jake Gyllenhaal interesting because he did Brokeback Mountain, which was basically him on a horse. He's also got a really strong, and horses are obviously Sagittarius coded, right? The cowboy and you, the cowboy and me. So here we've got the Sun, Neptune, Mercury, Venus. Not quite Uranus in this sign, but a stellium of 1, 2, 3, 4. And is that his? Oh, it's his vertex, it's his part of fortune. I always get those confused. But for those of you listening on podcast, Jake Gyllenhaal has the Sun in Sag, Mercury in Sag, Venus in Sag, and Neptune in Sag. He's a Leo rising and his moon is in Gemini. So he was born on a full moon or just ahead of a full moon, a full day before a full moon, but still. He starred in Brokeback Mountain. I'm not super familiar with any other of Jake Gyllenhaal's performances. I probably have seen him in something else, but I mean, Brokeback Mountain, so memorable. So adventurous, right? So fun. And, obviously the love story was really moving as well. So yeah, I just find that very, very inspiring that he has all that Sag energy. He's also born during the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction in Libra. Now, I haven't seen anything come up on the news about him, but he's a good example. Also, you can see here he has his North Node on the ascendant in Leo, meaning that he is so comfortable being kind of autonomous, right? Like he's very self-oriented. He's not really so needing to worry about partnerships. He's more self-propelled. Doesn't even matter if he has a partner, quite frankly. So enough about him. Tina Turner. I mean, she is simply the best, right? Who does not love Tina Turner? Just like Jake Gyllenhaal, she is also a Leo rising. We know that because of her hair is such a crowning glory. She could literally be a lion with that hair. Back spray, hairspray vibes. Tina Turner, love her. I remember sitting in the back seat of the car and listening to Steamy Windows back in the day when you'd listen to a whole album on a really long car journey, and I loved it. I loved Steamy Windows. I loved all of her songs, quite frankly. Thanks, Mum and Dad, for playing Tina Turner. And she was born on a Gemini full moon. What a prolific woman. Also, Uranus on the midheaven, wild and free, free at last from Ted. Ugh. What a beast. And she's very Sagittarius as well. She has the Sun, Mercury, and Venus all in Sagittarius. So that performance that she puts on, her legs, the Sagittarius part of the body is the thighs or are the thighs. And I think famously she was voted like the woman with the best legs in the world multiple times over. She wore really short dresses exposing her legs, and what a star. But Gemini full moon as well, twinkling with excitement. Jennifer Connelly. Now, have you seen Requiem for a Dream? Don't watch it if you haven't, because it's horrendously moving. Jennifer Connelly, born on a full moon, but interestingly, Mars, Venus, Jupiter in Scorpio. So here's a really good example of somebody who is not just existing in the paradigm of Sag and Gemini, right? Like she's an actress. She rose to fame really, really young, starring in Labyrinth with David Bowie. But there's a lot of youthful energy around people who are stars young, because they've become famous. And Sagittarius is such a sign that's synonymous with this comfortable sensation around fame, being Jupiter ruled, Jupiter being this, regal energy, because Jupiter and Leo are both possessive of that regal energy. Jupiter is Zeus in the Greek and Roman, mythology. So when I say kingly, of course, Leo is the lion, which is the crest, which is the Leo vibes. It can be very regal, but also Jupiter being the king of the planets, as it were. I hope that's clear. Obviously, the sun is also king as well. The sun is daddy, the sun is father, even though people want to call Saturn daddy. Saturn is granddaddy. The sun is the father. But anyway, Sagittarius people can be very comfortable with prolific lives. And so it's natural that sometimes they will become famous really young. You've got Scarlett Johansson, Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, lots of people who are Sagittarius. I can't pronounce her name, but the kid that was Blossom, the girl Raven Simone, all Sagittarius. I've got a whole list of them on my website. Anyway, Jennifer Connelly, born on that full moon in Gemini, but with this really deep Scorpio energy as well, allowing her to play way more intense roles, i.e. Requiem for a Dream and Snowpiercer, which I love. Julianne Moore. Okay, here's the one that I've kind of been doing a little bit of a deep dive on. Good old Julianne Moore. I was looking at her chart more specifically because I really like her. I really like Julianne Moore. Now, we have a rising sign for her. So we have a birth time. Gemini rising, moon in Gemini rising, sun in Sagittarius, Mercury at the same degree as this full moon. So we can almost say like this full moon is Julianne Moore's full moon because she is born on the 3rd of December, which is the today, so it's her birthday today, and Mercury probing in Scorpio. So very interesting woman. The last thing I saw her in was that fabulous TV show Sirens. And basically, I just think it's she's pretty coded. Let me just stop this share here. Let me get rid of that window. And I just want to show you that she did so you might have noticed Sia is also, let me just say, Sia is also born under this full moon configuration. Zoe Saldana is born under a Gemini Sun, Sagittarius moon. And all three star in this video. It's Sia's music video. Anyway, I've waffled on long enough, but I just want to read a quote from Wikipedia that says about Julianne Moore. I really like her. It's from the New York Times. They praised Moore's ability to subtly reveal the inner turmoil of her characters, writing that she is peerless in her portraits of troubled womanhood. So she's a Gemini rising with Moon on the ascendant, this artist. So the podcast's called The Art of Astrology. So here's my artist of the moment. Came round to it in the end. The ability of this artist, Julianne Moore, to portray troubled women, complex women, to me, is what this full moon could be about. The moon is the emotions of the collective, or it's the emotional bandwidth of the individual. And the fact that this actress is able to project intellectually sophisticated feminine characters, of course, because she's a woman, but you know. And then she put, I never care, this is all from Wikipedia, by the way. I never care that my characters are strong. I never care that they're even affirmative. I look for the thing that's human and recognizable and emotional. Moon. You know, we're not perfect. We're not heroic. We're not in control. We're our own worst enemies sometimes. We cause our own tragedies. That's the stuff I think is really compelling. So that's why she's drawn to playing troubled women. I really like Julianne Moore. Like, she's such a complex seeming lovely lady, and I love the fact that she's got that Gemini moon rising right on her ascendant, so that she is able to be a conduit for the roles and the parts. And of course, actors and actresses are just storytellers helping us make sense of the world. And so also you'll see her really fulfilling her Sagittarius side as well, because I think she's kind of like epic and a risk taker. There's a film that she did, either I think Tom Ford's in it or he did the costumes, and she looks sensational, but also she's really comfortable with nakedness. I think she does some sex scenes, but she also said like she'll only do the sex scenes if they're like movie appropriate, but like freedom and nakedness is very much a Sagittarius thing as well, like being liberated and free. It's very Aquarius as well. But yeah, I really, really like that. And I really like her chart. So that's all I got for you guys. But let's just think at this full moon about the nuance and the depth that's going on under the surface, the troubled nature of humans and their imperfections, just like Julianne Moore said, and also the information that we want to come to light, regardless of delusions and confusions that are always drawing us away from the truth. All right, my darlings, I'll come back to you again in a couple of weeks with the freaking new moon in Sagittarius, unless I decide to visit you again before. Big hugs.